Candace Owens, Nick Cannon sit down, have some hot topics that they talk about, some interesting topics about God, the world, a lot of things that are going on that need to be discussed. Ready? Let's go. Welcome to Faith in Motion, where modern minds meet timeless truths, where we keep it real, whether coaching, directing, or mentoring young minds, fostering marriage and relationships. It's all about becoming stronger, wiser, and ultimately drawing closer to God. We're tackling everything from life's tough lessons to building character, issues in the world, relationships, and a rock-solid faith. Let's get moving to becoming the kings and the queens we were born to be. Because faith without action is just talk. So let's put our faith in motion. So Nick Cannon is interviewing Candace Owens, somebody who has strong point of views, somebody who is not afraid to speak her mind, which is something you could admire in today's day where everybody's afraid to step on somebody's toes if you don't agree with them, or if you have a different opinion that goes against somebody else's opinion. She's someone who is not afraid to go out and speak her mind in the public eye. Nick Cannon, we know where he comes from, the world that he's coming from as well, from what we've seen in the media and whatever he puts out there. So let's see what they talk about, and let's see where it goes.
Back again on another edition of Counsel Culture, a brave space, a safe place to have open dialogue. And, you know, we feel together, we reveal together so we can heal together. That's the whole purpose. And I am joined once again by the fearless and the powerful Candace Owens. Welcome back. Our last session ended where you were speaking your truth and some evident truths that, you know, a lot of people don't want to hear or agree with. And I ended with a question, which I want to start with, is like, one, being so fearless, how do you function through every day? I mean, you're also a mom of 3, and I mean, even I was surprised to, even when you showed up, I was like, it's regular, it's normal. And all that's going on in the world, you know what I mean? I would expect you to be traveling with Secret Service just because of the type of things you speak on, the people that you speak on, and you do it in such a fearless way. How do you get away with that?
Well, the first thing is, I know enough about history to know that if they want to kill you, the Secret Service ain't going to stop them. That's the first part. You know what I mean? If that was a thing, then JFK would be alive, right? If that was a thing, Trump wouldn't have gotten shot.
Speaks about
and so
anything
it's almost to me, the security part is vanity for other people. It doesn't actually make a difference. But the second thing is, I have faith in God. I know God is real. So there is this understanding that I'm always operating with, that this is not it. And I feel sad.
Let me pause it there. This is something that me and my wife have been talking about a lot. We as people who believe in God need to walk with a different type of confidence, with a understanding, with a dominion, knowing who we are in God, and not being afraid of evil. Can't be afraid of evil or what other people can do. Listen, the Bible says, if God is for us, who can be against us? So what she just said there, it's a good way to start.
Sad for people that don't know that God is real, because I know that they don't believe God is real because of this intentional training that happened in the public school system. It's why your grandparents are faithful. Going back to Tucker Carlson clip where he's like, don't you think it's weird that since the dawn of humanity, everybody knew that spiritual forces were at play, goodness and evil were at play, every civilization. And then suddenly post-World War II in the West, we were like, no, God's not real. And they started training you to believe in yourself. And that gets into all types of satanic religions that want to drive you towards humanism. They want that to be the ultimate faith, to place your faith in humans, to place your faith in science, and to not believe in God, like literally to not believe in God. And people, it's funny to me because they will be like, I don't believe in God. Like, and they think it's a rational position to have, but these will be the same people that believe so much in government. Like atheists are the most faithful people in the entire world. They will, like what I'm saying, hopping on one foot for COVID, trying to stay alive. They don't ask any questions, roll up their sleeve, get a vaccine. I'm like, bro, you got faith. It's just in humans, like, you know, in the ultimate form, scientism. And they've
Listen, everybody has a God in something. Whether your God is money, whether your God is in the government, whether your God is sports. Everybody worships something. Everybody has faith in something. We choose God.
Realize that and they know that they can control you. I mean, the stuff that you see people doing, it should make you very aware that they have faith, that there is no such thing as atheism. There's
Right.
just faith
Well,
in man.
yeah, you've definitely spoken out that you're, anti-scientism,
Yeah.
and scientism being the religion of science. But most people who rely and believe in science look at people who believe in God and spirituality as kooks and also slaves to, oh, you're just going to go with these traditional rituals that have been placed in books and theories that really are based off of allegories. I'd rather go based off of scientific evidence of things that have been proven.
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
I think that they probably should know that the Enlightenment was not enlightened. It was the darkening of mankind. The Dark Ages were not dark. They were actually an age of tremendous Christian enlightenment, and all of that stuff has been intentionally buried. And they are very much focused, moving the Bible out of the classroom. It used to be taught, and they want you to believe in nothing other than what they tell you. If you think, and I'll just give you just a perfect example.
Well, I'll say to that is the Dark Ages was definitely a time where, from what I understand, it's a time when the gospel wasn't being preached. The government system or the Catholic Church at the time was holding on the scriptures only for the priests or certain leaders. And so therefore the communities and society in a whole was in a dark state. And then enlightenment came through Martin Luther and gentlemen like these.
My children are not vaxxed. I am anti-vax, whatever name the science people are coming up with.
Right.
And it's just stunning to me that they were able to convince people that their babies are born wrong. Like, as soon as your baby comes out, science can fix it. Like, what do you mean? My baby just came out. You're talking about, well,
Right.
They instantly need a Hep B vaccine. Wait a second, isn't hepatitis B, like, isn't that an STD? Yes, but they need this because, I'm like, this makes zero sense. You're just in the cult of science. It's stupid. The idea that God got it wrong, it's wild. And the funny thing is that the logic that they will apply to themselves for listening to science, they wouldn't even apply it to an animal. Like, if they were suddenly like, every lion that's born or every lion that's born, we have to intervene and do something, PETA would be outside tomorrow freaking out, like, leave them naturally in their, but us, forget it. They legitimately believe that vaccines are keeping their babies alive from the second they come out. That's scientism. That's a cult, right? You are a part of a cult and a religion, and you don't understand the science of it at all. If I debate, when I say people call me anti-vaxxer, I invite them on my show. They never come.
This world is being controlled by Satan, and he's after the children. And when we read the Bible, Satan was always after the babies, killing babies through Baal worship, through whether or not killing a group of babies due to the fear of the Messiah coming into the world. And Satan, through the hospital systems of today, it hasn't changed. For some reason, people think this world it hasn't, like, the demonic worships that they were doing back then, the cults that they were doing back then, is all of a sudden gone. No, it's just hidden from the eye's view.
Doctors, they never come. I'm like, I know how you get paid. I know every child is a check for you if they go through this system and they keep it, and it's all being funded by Big Pharma. And it is my belief that all of these pollutions, again, because I know that the spirit is real, that all of it is to pull you further away from what would actually be a very natural recognition within yourself. Like, you would feel that normally, you would feel this spiritual draw, this spiritual incline. They've lied to you. COVID, you should apply that logic and know that that system of lying was easier when there was no independent media.
Yeah, there's brainwashing. I believe you even spoke of like psychological terrorism.
It is.
That where if they're constantly trying to scare us into control, which I don't disagree on that, but I don't think there's this ultimate puppet master or this group of guys. I've looked for the group. I want to know who these guys are that are so rich and powerful that they pass it on to their, their offspring and their bloodlines, and they're all keeping the darkness in the world going. I can't find that physical group.
Well, I'm telling you that the CIA is a part of a group and a global conspiracy to enslave mankind. So let's just go small picture here. The CIA, definitively.
Okay.
Okay, definitively is a part of the small group of people that are controlling
So
things,
then and the
moving
CIA is
wealth.
technically is bipartisan, right?
Okay, they're not bipartisan. That's the whole point. That they are not Democrat or Republican. This is like
They
the
could care
gang.
less, yeah.
This is the gang that won. And you know what he said before he got shot in Dallas next to his wife as he was going down the street that day? JFK said he was going to scatter the CIA into a million pieces because it was corrupt. And then unfortunately, he was involved in an accident. And that accident was he was shot. And the person who shot him said, I didn't shoot him. That was Lee Harvey Oswald. But then before he could testify about what did or not happen, he was killed by a man named Jacob Rubenstein. And that guy, believe it or not, was MK Ultra'd. Before he could stand trial, he was deemed insane because a doctor.
But it's weird that somebody like Nick Cannon, who I would say brushes shoulders with people within the music industry, people within Hollywood, he wouldn't know of these secret circles, especially what's just happened to P. Diddy. What's happened when you see what's going on when Trump and certain people say certain things, you know there's elites, you know there's a certain group of people. When you see CERN in Switzerland and all these things, it's like, are you that blind or you're just being stupid?
Working for the CIA, went in there and gave him a cocktail of medicine to make him crazy. Now, what's funny about this is Kanye told me years ago, because I am not a person, I have to learn things in a book. I need to order the right books. I love to read. But he said something to me, and it sounded wild when he said it to me, that they like made him bipolar. I think he said that. And I don't want to misquote him, but he said something like they made me bipolar. And he was on one of his rants, and it was difficult for me to kind of discern what he meant. And I was there with him when Harley Pashnik was texting him like a totally normal trainer saying, we're going to put you back into a hospital and you'll never see your kids again. Totally normal for your gym trainer to be saying that to you. Totally normal stuff. I think he's an issue. But anyways, he had said that, and that did not make sense to me. I don't want to say it sounded crazy. It just didn't make sense to me. Then I read that book, Chaos. And that guy who got the FOIA requests and declassified the documents and read the conversations between the heads of the CIA and Dr. Sidney Gottlieb. And yeah, they wrote that they could give people schizophrenia, they could give people bipolar disorder via a cocktail of medicine. They can literally induce mental illness via a cocktail of medicine. So this reporter who did this book, by the way, he was like, not at all conspiracy theorist. He was just a writer for Premiere magazine, and his name was Tom O'Neill. He was tasked by his editor to just write a quick 30-year anniversary magazine article on the Manson murders. And he was like, oh, this is going to be so boring. I've tapped this 1,000 times. It ended up taking him 22 years. Wow. Because he was like, this doesn't make sense. And then the FOIA request, he ended up getting fired from there. Book deal fell through. He dedicated 22 years of his life to investigating what the hell happened on that night that Americans were told there were these heinous murders that happened. And everything he learned was that there were operatives there that night. The judges were on the payroll, police officers, all, by the way, very much the same. And we don't need to get into this right now, but in what's been put out in that Diddy lawsuit, it's literally the same area that it's happening. Like, LA's got a lot of shady stuff happening here, a lot of evil stuff happening here, a lot of satanic stuff happening here. I wouldn't want to be an enemy of the CIA and live in LA. I'll say that for free. Like, I wouldn't want to live here because I believe that they obviously do have LAPD police officers that are working for them. And a lot of the stuff that Kanye was saying that didn't make sense now makes perfect sense to me. But now I have I read this book and I've seen the files, and thankfully this journalist dedicated 22 years of his life to present to the public. You have to learn it. It's scary, but you have to confront it. But don't be scared also, because in the end, goodness does win. And that's where just the spirit of Christ comes in. Like, I know how this story ends. These people are evil. These people are demonic. These people are poisoning you. They are poisoning your children. They are poisoning your psychology every day. They have poisoned Black music. Is also what I want to say. That was my instinct. I was like, this is not Black music. Why am I hearing what sounds demonic coming out of people's mouths and what they're speaking about? And some artists have spoken out about the fact that they're being told to. And
right there is what I'm saying. So Nick Cannon, who would rub his shoulders with these people, how would he not have the connection or the thought process to say, yo, this is what's going on, or this? He's an interviewer, so he's trying to be neutral, I guess, you know? But at the same time, his heart might be being tugged by God as someone like her is speaking to him. And so there's a battle within himself, because once you acknowledge, once you acknowledge and come to the understanding that, yes, you know, the word of God, the Bible might be truth, and you start to have conviction, then you begin to, and so you start to be responsible for that conviction. And so that might be what's going on in him as well. Who knows? Just making guesses here.
Produce demonic music.
See, and again, I'm glad you brought that up. And the overarching, I believe either you said something like this in the past, but I know I'm paraphrasing here, that we probably believe the same thing, that ignorance, fear, and confusion is the devil's dominion in that sense. So that's where we're easily controlled, when we don't know, when we're scared, or when we're confused. And a lot of what I hear you saying is that it's not rooted in what we would deem as factual, like you're an avid reader like me. Like I'll read anything and try to understand it, but it's also like, all right, well, show me the evidence, which normally is like science, of that there are people controlling us through our music. Now, as a faith, based individual and someone
these people are being controlled by entities, and then putting certain frequency and vibration and certain even words, saying the word death, kill, murder in a song will change a person's frequency and how they think to live a certain way or to act a certain way. So you're thinking more of an individual, but it's however a entity and a power that's behind all of this to do these things.
I truly believe in spiritual warfare. I at least for my own psyche, I can say, okay, I see what's happening in black music and in hip hop. I don't think there's a secret meeting going on that, and I've even heard about the secret meeting. I'm like, why? I want to know who was in those meetings that they were saying, I need you to say all of the horrible things about black men and black women. I need you to put satanic influences into songs and signs and symbolism. Like, to me, that is an energy that, or a spirit that can come upon people to make you want to do that, especially based off of their circumstances. If all I know is pain, strife, anger, hate, I'm gonna now, put that back out or regurgitate that to my own community. And that in itself is a cycle of darkness and low frequency.
That is true. That's also true what he just said. That's to show you how many layers there are to this. They know that to drive revenue up, when you talk about more negative things, for instance, what gets pushed out, even in your own friend circle, family circle, gossip or good news. Gossip always travels faster. Bad news always travels faster. It's the same thing when it comes to music. So yeah, that is true what he's saying. So there's different layers to it.
We can be removed from, but to say that there's like these secret people coming in and telling us,
I don't think they're secret. I don't think they're secret at all. And there have been multiple artists that have spoken out and said that producers have encouraged them to.
But yeah, that's an individual.
But is that not to believe them?
That's an individual. So
sure,
because like I said, I can find the devil in gospel music if I wanted to, but I can also say, I can find the God, I can find the good in every aspect, whether it's Hollywood or not. Like, there's multiple things where if we even understand what entertainment was designed for, it ultimately is to relieve us of the stresses that everyday life brings upon us.
Right.
So again, you operate each and every day in a space of like, look, I'm on the front lines and I'm literally trying to help people understand and get clarity and hear the truth. But when that becomes confusing or it becomes rhetoric, and now I just see people with great brilliance just arguing back and forth about things that ultimately are not creating any gain for either one of the individuals, except for maybe ego to say, oh, I was right, or oh, I read this. Like, knowing your position and knowing what you can offer to the world, how do you differentiate between like, all right, I'm gonna just go ahead and I'm gonna do nothing but speak, against, the trans community, or I'm gonna speak against Black Lives Matter, or whatever that at the moment where you can say clearly you're brilliant enough to be like, all right, I don't have to go out there with my sword swinging. I can take a softer approach. I can accept. I can love everyone, give everyone an opportunity, and still get the same message across. Because, like you just said, goodness is ultimately going to be the one to prevail if you truly believe that.
Yeah, well, goodness prevails when good speaks out. We can't just sit back and do nothing when we see it, and we have to call it like we see it.
You're gonna be like Peter and just go cut everybody's ear off.
Yeah, I'm not even.
But Jesus was like, Peter, fall back. Give my man his ear because he needs to hear this process.
I think it's interesting because I don't find myself to be offensive. I just think
everybody else does.
I know. That is correct. And I think the reason for that is because people don't.
Most people will find you offensive when you speak hard truth about certain subjects that might be touchy. Because when it comes to touchy subjects, nobody wants to touch it, right? So when you do have somebody like her or anybody else who's willing to say certain things, say like the trans community is trying to force what they're doing on kids through TV and elementary schools, and through all of this, what's going to happen in the future, they're trying to change their sex, and later on in life, they realize they made a mistake and they're committing suicide, all of these things. When people are afraid to talk about these things, that's when, oh, you're offensive, when someone does want to talk about it. But have the conversation. Stop being emotional. That's what it is.
People don't like hearing the truth. And I think it's because they know it's the truth deep down and they have like a visceral response.
And I would agree with you. I would definitely agree with you until we start jumping into these spaces that sound very conspiracy theory. I used to be that guy. I was that guy that was like, they're trying to tear us down. And then to your point, which you often speak of, that becomes a victim-like mentality. So my message started to often being like, yes, the world's fucked up. Yes, there's so many, there's more enemies than we know. But I know the God within me and the God that I serve is going to have them all fall to my feet when I walk into the room, because I know the energy that I possess.
Yeah.
So therefore, I don't have to come in guns blazing, because if we know the truth and we know ultimately that goodness will prevail, then why can't I lead with love and cut them off with compassion?
Well, I just don't think it's guns.
Love doesn't mean that you don't say the truth. Love doesn't mean that it won't hurt. If I see someone about to put their hands in the fire, I'm going to pull it out as hard as I can. So he's confusing with love and hurt feelings. Sometimes someone's feelings might be hurt while you're trying to love them. This is the exact example with when it comes to a child and their parents. A parent always has to discipline because it's love, not because you don't let your kids keep doing their foolishness or getting hurt or whatever, because you don't want to hurt their feelings. No man, no go so.
I just don't think it's guns a-blazing to say, only women can give birth. And that's what I'll say, and people will lose their minds. Like that, I will be like,
but you'll say that in a setting of people who can't give birth.
But my point is just that it's just the truth. I'm not even here like, I'm not showing up where people are at and in their faces. They just don't know how to accept my audacity to just keep saying the truth. That is what, because I've thought about this. What is it about me that people are so triggered by? And it's my audacity. Right. Because we live in a world where people will bend to the spirit of evil. They will bend to the spirit of nonsense. They will allow every part of their reason to be stripped away so that they can fit in. And again, this gets into, and this is not conspiracy. In fact, we should stop using the word conspiracy theorist, because we know that was a CIA term that they entered into the lexicon following the shooting of JFK. So they say...
The Bible says it. Stop saying conspiracy. The Bible says it.
So they say the word conspiracy theory. That's
all. The theory is the only thing that's the problem. The conspiracy to conspire is not an issue.
Yeah, but that is the truth. And that is why we should just call it out when we see it. This is what's happening. These people are conspiring. Like, that's what I do. And here's a document you can look at to see when they've done it in the past, and this is what's happening now. And I also listen to people. I don't gaslight people. So if an artist comes to me and says, I've been told to record something demonic, or I had a conversation with Amber Rose, and she a couple of weeks ago, and it was a lot of her telling me that she was basically just being pushed by people that you need to be more sexual, you need to be more sexual. I accept that obviously at a certain point, and this gets into why you were saying why I won't bend for money. I wouldn't do it. I'm built different, you know? But I also acknowledge that these people are being pushed in a certain direction. Women, you're being told, can you make it sexier? I will not accept. The conspiracy to me is to try to convince me that the times have changed and we went from, in the Black community, producing Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston to what really Black people really want to hear right now is Sexy Red. And so that's the reason why these record labels are going to Sexy Red and offering her a deal. I refuse to believe that. Okay, so yes, power is held by these labels when they go out, and I don't mean that as any disrespect to her. What I am saying is that frequencies are real.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Frequencies impact your spirit. You and I know that.
There's been brothels and strip clubs and stuff since the oldest
but
profession
I'm talking
is
about music.
so,
right?
okay, and like you said,
and I'm talking, yes, and you are correct. But Confucius said, "Listen to the music,
and you'll be able
yes.
to know the
and there's a reason for that.
Society.
He knew this. This Chinese philosopher knew this back when, and this people who, in my viewpoint, have a lot of power in the music industry also understand that. There is no reason to fight to put filth on the airways and then try to convince people that it's free speech.
Because it's
in fact,
profitable.
I will tell you
it's
a non-conspiracy that you can look up right now, and I'm going to blank on his name, but there is a guy, and if I grab my phone, I'll be able to look it up for you. Literally on his Wikipedia page, it literally says, we created pornography, because I believe the eyes and the ears are the window to the soul.
There's a battle going on between good and evil. And it's a battle for every individual's soul, every individual's destiny, whether it's heaven or hell. The war is already won. Christ already won the war. But the everyday battle is for you. And so whether Satan wins you over by simply through music, the movies, through sin, through even being in the church, the wrong church, or you think that you're serving the church so much, but your heart is not properly aligned with God. So you're serving yourself. All these things, Satan is just trying to find his way. And at the same time, Satan is just only after the church as well, the remnant. With that, we're going to come right back.